I adore knit garments. When I'm looking for a specific knit pattern, I'm always looking for the colors that I love. But most of the time, the pattern is perfect, but the colors are off. I go with the route of choosing my own colors and choosing my own yarn. But to make them work, before I actually commit to buying all of these yarns, I redesign a color work chart with the colors that I want. You don't actually need a lot of things. For this tutorial, I'm going to be using my old iPad. This is pretty old, it's already 10-year-old iPad, but it still works. You will need drawing app. It could be a free one, it could be a not free one. I'm going to be using Procreate just because I have it, but you don't have to use Procreate. There are a couple of steps to this process, from the pattern that I choose, to the yarns that I choose, to the colors of the yarns that I choose, and then how I go with putting all of the different colors together, maybe changing some colors. It is all personal preference. Here's my iPad, and I am going to do a screen recording of what I'm actually doing. First, you would want to open the app of your choice that you will be using for this. I have chosen a pattern for this one, which is 1940s Fair Isle vest. The next step, you're making a photograph of the actual color work chart that you want to update. This is the color work chart that I'm going to be working on. The next step is going to be create a new layer. We need to create some lines, so it's just going to match the squares. And to do that, you would just make a square. I'm just duplicating all of these squares so that after that we can use this to update the colors. And then I would continue. You can do this with all of the charts that you have. You can add new charts. You can remove the color charts. This is how the final one is going to look like. I've created the squares, and now I can think about what kind of colors I want to go with. I would recommend choosing colors from already available yarn in stores. Then you can somewhat know whether your preferred yarn actually has those colors already. If you're not very specific on colors, like you just want something red or you just want something white, it's fine, you can go with any type of yarn. But actually for this project, I wanted to make sure that I chose the correct gauge for my project before choosing the colors. You can go to any store. For me, it was a wool warehouse, and that's where I have found a perfect yarn for this project, which matched the gauge of the original yarn perfectly. I really wanted to work with 100% wool yarn because my plan was to also do some sticking. Sticking is basically cutting your project. Wool yarn is sticky and it's perfect to create that sticking effect. What I did is I went to the wool warehouse website and then I screenshotted all the colors that I liked. I felt like they might go well together, but I wasn't really sure where they're gonna go, what I really want from this color work chart. But that's the beauty of it, like you will figure it out eventually. These are my selected yarns. I really wanted to go with something colorful. I really love green, really love this kind of color of the green. It looks a bit like a swamp green. So if we look at the original, there is a lot of different colors. There is gray, blue, green, red, and some sand color. So I kind of went similar, but I've decided instead of red, I wanted pink. Though the pattern is wonderful, it's just I really wanted different colors, and I really love green, and unfortunately this pattern didn't have any green or pink. I also kind of wanted to look like a watermelon, and I guess that achieved it. You can basically select the most closest color, and then actually I used a bit of a bigger brush. So I'm basically doing swatches of the colors. And then for this green, obviously because this is more of like a mixture of different colors, I still went with something that is probably more like this. I swatched it to here. So these swatches are important for later so that you don't have to constantly think, oh, maybe this is the perfect color. This will let you have the closest color to what you already have. Swatches are not going to be perfect to what the yarn itself is, but you have already the idea of what it's going to look like. Now that the swatches are done, so I kind of did them a bit differently. I put them on the side because it's a lot easier to see them on the side. But now that the swatches are done, now I know that I have these kind of colors to select from. As soon as you did the swatch, maybe you're not gonna like it. Maybe you're saying, oh, okay, maybe that one is a bit too dark. So I'm actually gonna reselect it and just move it a bit more. And I might pick some other color. This one might actually make it look like the yarn itself. Now that we have these charts, the dots here will represent one stitch. That means you're basically selecting the color that you want that stitch to be. Let's say I want my full sweater, so the main color of the sweater, to be pink. And the main color of the original pattern of the whole sweater is this sand color. I'm just gonna select this color and then I drag and drop this color, the pink color, into the area that is that sand color. I might say the gray is going to be green maybe. I am just selecting the color that I said I want in green. So the gray one is going to be green. So I'm not doing that to anything else. That means I'm not causing any disruption to the actual pattern. The pink and green work very well together, and I know for a fact that I look at the actual yarns themselves and I can tell, yeah, they are very nicely looking together. And then after that, I'm looking at this very intense red color, and the color that I have that is the most intense in my selection here is this intense pink. So that is the one that I want to represent that red. I just love the fact that I can do whatever with this one, and I'm just drag and drop until every single red is colored. I can see that I have very similar colors. So one of them is this whitish color, and then there is also this one, which is not the same if I can look at the actual chart, but they kind of look the same. So they could be this color that I have here, or they could be a totally different color if I want to. I haven't used this blue. I do have this blue too, but I could try this blue if I want to. I do like that because it works well with the green and with the pink. So this is how it would look if we just look at this side. It already looks totally different to whatever we have here, to the original pattern. But I want to color this one. So we can go with the same color as the actual pattern. We can go with this light cream color. And we know it will work because there is this kind of light color. But it doesn't mean that you have to go with the similar colors. You can also do a totally different color here. You can do blue, you can do green. That means you have to switch this green, or you can do it pink, this color pink. There's just a lot of different options here. Then we also have this chart. I actually created two charts here. Instead of having just one repeat all the time in between these two charts, I've decided that I wanted two different ones. So again, we can see that there is this sand color, and I know from my vest I want it to be pink. So the sand color actually represents the color of the vest itself, so the main color. And I've decided that the main color needs to be pink. And I'm just putting everything. Let's say I wanted green because I really loved how the green and pink work together. And instead of this red one, I went with green. Now I have a third color here. And for the third color, I think I'm just gonna choose a similar color to this one. First things first, remember that there's just so many things that you can do with these colors. You can choose so many different colors. You can even update the whole color chart if you want to. You don't have to do it this particular way. I first put all of the colors, the ones that I thought that would look good. But after that, I just wanted to play a bit more with it, and I updated some things, I changed some things, I made sure that, you know, I didn't have 3 colors in one line, because this was actually my original thing. But so if you're doing color work, in one row, you would want to have only 2 colors changing, because if you have 3 or more, that will be a lot more complicated for you to do Fair Isle wise. And original Fair Isle is actually done with 2 colors only in the row. In my color work, I actually used a lot of different color changes per different rows, which made it so interesting. This is how the original looks, and this is how mine looks. In the actual vest, it is still going to look different. From what I have made, you can see that I haven't used this color. So it is this color. I haven't used this one just because I wanted to limit the whole pattern to 5 colors only, because I already knew that I already have one contrasting color, which is very intense and like very poppy. I didn't want to have too many colors that pop too much. So instead of having 2, I only decided to go with this one. And then I went with more muted colors. I really wanted some more green in mine. At first I went with a bit less green, and then I just changed it and made it so that I have a lot more green. The original looks totally different to what I have. The second one is a lot more darker, and even the pattern looks slightly different because I did some updates and I really loved how this pattern looked, so like how it flowed, and I wanted the same for the second one. I also wanted to make sure that they kind of match very well together. For the small ones, this one is the chart that I have made from the original pattern, so this is how the original looks. And then I added another one because I really wanted to have a bit more blue and also more of that pink color. And you can add even more because this chart in my pattern actually repeated every other chart. So that means this chart was the first one, then it was this one, then it was chart C, then it was chart A2, and then it went back. I really love how it turned out. I hope this tutorial helped you because there's just a vast thing that you can do with this. You can also use apps that do this. You can pretty much upload your original color work if you want to. Anything that makes you happy, really. And this color work really made me happy because these are my favorite colors and I really loved how it looked. And I knew for a fact nobody had the same colors. I actually got inspiration more from fashion like 2020's fashion, 2022, 2023, from the pastels and also from so much different colors in one place, but they are all very harmonious and they're very warm colors and just kind of remind me a bit more of like summer and of berries and fruit and also nature. And that's why I really wanted to have that, but not only fruits and nature, but also flowers and just beautiful things. And I wanted to have color in my vest, and I went with those colors because I thought that worked well. I really love that you can just choose whatever colors you feeling like you want this garment to be like. You're somewhat like a designer of your knit garment. You're not actually redesigning the pattern, you're just updating the colors. So instead of one color, so for example, it's gonna be, you know, the original one has some kind of like milky color, you're gonna update it to a totally different color. And then if you don't like the fact that there isn't a lot of repeats of colors, you can add a lot more different charts, or you can reduce the amount of colors and you can do it in whatever the colors you want. You can always simplify a knit color work pattern to your own preferences. And I really love this, that you have so much variability for the knit patterns. I hope you liked this video of me showing you how to update the colors of the knit color work chart. I hope you are not as intimidated anymore with the more complicated color work charts, or you want to proceed with a lot more complicated color work charts. You want even to duplicate a knitted garment that you already have but in different colors that you love or that are very balanced and suit each other, or just the colors that you really love. I really love the method of putting everything into the piece of paper and looking how everything looks before actually committing to buying the yarn. And then maybe at the end you don't really love it. Maybe, you know, one of the colors is just a bit too overpowering than the other and there's no balance, for example. And then you're just put off by a knitted garment that you have knitted for so long. Fair Isle or color work knitted garments are very complicated to make in the first place, so you just want to make it look good already from the beginning. You just want to have this reassurance that your knitted garment is going to look great with the colors that you love. Because this is actually a pre-video to a bigger project, I hope to see you in the future, because I will be definitely posting some interesting things in my next video. Bye everyone!